Good morning, everyone. I can see a lot of familiar names in the meeting. For those who don't know me, I work in the ERP and payroll implementation. My name is Tariq Saeed, and we will be covering today's end of financial year webinar. So the purpose of this webinar is to go through in brief the compliance changes for 2024-25 financial year and how to prepare for them in advanced payroll. But most part of this webinar, we will be discussing your end of financial year reconciliation and SDP finalization. So before we start this meeting, can I please request everyone to mute your microphone? And if you are unsure, the mic option is located on the right-hand side. So the agenda of today's webinar is to go through the ATO updates, processing of reportable fringe benefits if you need to report them, also reconciling payroll, so checking postings, leave entitlements and provisions, superannuation, single touch payroll to finalize the SDP declaration. And at the end, we will be having a question answer session. We'll start with the ATO updates. So the following changes come into effect on 1st of July. In most cases, the new rates and thresholds are applied automatically when you open a pay with physical pay date of 1st of July 2024 or later. So the changes are increased to super guarantee amount to 11.5%. The maximum base super contributions, so the income per quarter has increased from 62,270 to 65,070. There is a change in tax table, so there is a change in the rates and tax brackets for your Australian residents, non-Australian residents, as well as working holiday makers. There is also a change to return to work payment. So for any employee who receives a payment to resume working or provide services, the withholding rate has reduced from 34.5% to 32%. So although there are no changes to the student loan rates, but the repayment thresholds has increased. And for employment termination payments, the threshold amounts, ETP cap base limit, and completed year services amounts for 2024-25 have also been changed. So all these changes will be applied automatically when you create a new pay for the 2024-25 financial year. There is another change. The Medicare levy surcharge threshold, they have also changed. So if any of your employees' Medicare levy surcharge has changed as a result of new threshold, you will need to update it manually. So you will need to go into the employee pay details, and on the taxation tab, there is this Medicare levy variation declaration. So where there is a current surcharge rate and where there is a variation column as well. So you will need to enter the variation in the ML steer and save the record. So we will be spending most of our time today on end of financial year process. So the checklist is consist of checking employee details, although it sounds very simple, but a lot of time we have noticed that the employee details are incorrect. Maybe a valid TFN is missing, the correct employment type is not on employee record, and things like that. Check and validate company data to make sure pay details are correct and pay items that have been created during the financial year are correct as well. update reportable fringe benefits. So employers who need to report on fringe benefits, they need to process an additional pay run to complete their reportable fringe benefits, reconcile payroll, and make any necessary adjustments. So before we can submit the STP finalization event, we need to make sure that everything is reconciling. This is the biggest and most crucial step in end of financial year, unless you are doing it monthly. So we highly recommend to reconcile payroll every month, because if you are not reconciling at the end of every month and you are doing at the end of financial year and there are any discrepancies, then you need to go through month by month to find out where the discrepancy is. After we have discussed the reconciliation of payroll, we will discuss the STP finalization that needs to be submitted before 14th of July. So 14th of July is a Sunday, so you need to make sure it's done on 12th, that's a Friday. If you have manually set any super guarantee rates or limits, you will need to manually update these ones, because the compliance changes won't affect if these are manually set. Also, if you have manually set protected earning rates, you will need to update those, because we need to make sure everyone is being paid correctly and any additional amount is not withheld. We start with checking employee pay details. You need to go into the pay details. First of all, employee must need to have a start date. And with the STP2, make sure the payment summary type is set to salary and wages in employee pay details under the taxation segment. In STP2, there are lots of new income types. So most of you are now on STP2. I believe nobody will be on STP1, but there are organizations who have taken from the ATO that they can still use STP. So if payment summary type added after or changing the pay run, you need to check the appropriate checkboxes, but I believe this will be not necessary because most of you are on STP2. And with the introduction of STP2, there were a lot of pay item liabilities that the ATO category has increased. So previously it used to be 10, 20 ATO categories. So now there are 50 to 60. So we need to check every allowance and pay item to make sure you are using the correct categories. Previously, there were a lot of pay items that did not require an ATO category, but now the ATO has increased those categories, and with these fine details, we need to make sure that each and every pay item that needs an ATO category has been assigned a ATO category. So this you need to check in pay item liabilities. So when you go into pay item liabilities, make sure the ATO category has been selected. That's appropriate for that pay item. So after you have checked and updated the ATO categories, make sure that you have updated the pay history and you have updated the pay item, updated the imported pays. So for employers who need to process a reportable fringe benefit pay run, you need to add pay items if you haven't already added them. There need to be a separate pay group that is an annual pay group. Assign all your staff that needs to be in the fringe benefit pay group. Create a pay run. Make sure that you are selecting the dates correctly. So the pay run start date should not be earlier than 1st of April 2023, and the pay run end date is not later than 31st of March 2024. So you can have the physical pay date in June, but it needs to be before 30th of June 2024 to be included in the 2023-24 financial year. So there is a separate document to guide you through the process of reportable fringe benefits that's available on our website and also on MYOB Academy. But I will go through in brief the process, how to create the pay items and what pay items are required. So if you haven't already created the pay items, you will need at least 4 pay items, both exempt and non-exempt, grossed up and non-grossed up, based on the employee. So if you are not too sure how to create or these pay items, or you are not confident, contact our support team and they will guide you in creating these pay items for you. So after you have created all these 4 pay items, you will need to create a pay group, and this will be an annual pay group. If you have processed your fringe benefits in the past, these dates will be automatically updated for you, and all you need to do is create a new pay run, select the fringe benefit pay group, and select appropriate employees for that pay group. So after selecting the pay group and starting the pay run, make sure you have added all your employees, add the appropriate pay items to each and every individual employee, and then process your pay run as per normal. So process and complete and submit the STP event. Any questions so far regarding the compliance or processing of fringe benefit pay run? So we'll move to the next stage. So that's reconciliation of your payroll. So it is a good practice to reconcile your payroll every month because it's the same process at the end of financial year, but you need to go through the whole year of data. If you are reconciling every month, if there is a discrepancy, it's easier to find it out. But if you are not doing it monthly, then if there is a discrepancy, we need to go through each month and find in which month the discrepancy lies. So there are 2 key areas to focus for reconciling the payroll. So first thing is that the postings match to the payroll. And second thing is that the data in the payroll is correct. So what I mean by the posting match the payroll. So we need to make sure that the GL is balancing the payroll subledger. And the second thing, the payroll data, like your entitlement balances, your superannuation payroll tax, these are correct as well. So the key areas that we will be looking at is your GL postings, your work hour, entitlements, superannuation, and payroll tax. There are a few reports that will aid you in reconciling the payroll to the GL. Most of you will have those reports, and some of you will have the customized reports as well. So firstly, we will run and compare the results of the GL reports versus the payroll reports. And if there is any discrepancy, we will need to investigate and do the journal entries to correct those variances or make entitlement adjustment to correct the discrepancy, and also check the setup that will produce the desired result in the future. So I will share my screen, see what I mean by reconciliation of GL to your payroll subledger. So in payroll, the pay items are not directly linked with the GL accounts. So there are GL purpose codes that are linked to each and every pay item. And in turn, these GL purpose codes are linked to the posting classes that are linked to the GL account. So whenever you are processing a pay run using a pay item has a GL purpose code that is linked to a posting class. And in posting class, we have the GL accounts that get posted to your general ledger. So for example, if I'm taking this GL purpose code for personal leave taken, and I'm selecting that personal leave taken pay item, so you can see the pay item is linked to the GL purpose code. And then that GL purpose code will be listed in the posting class, and that posting class will have a GL account. Depending upon the organization and the setup, you can have, or you may have only one posting class, or you may have 30 or 40 posting classes. So our demo system has 4 posting classes, and it's uh, based on the departments. So if I select the accounting posting class, our personal leave taken GL purpose code is linked to the salary and wages account, and it's linked to the accounting sub account. So some of you may not even be using the sub account. So all we need to do is not uh, go through in detail to the sub account level. The GL account level will be enough to find the discrepancy, if any. And if I select our warehouse posting class, the same leave taken is posting to the warehouse sub account. So this will help you in finding out whether your GL postings for your pay item are happening correctly and they are posting to the correct GL accounts and sub accounts. So we were discussing that we will need to successfully reconcile and troubleshoot the variance. So we will need to look at the pay items and the GL purpose that it's linked to, make sure the posting classes with the GL code and GL purpose are reporting to the correct GL accounts, and the posting classes are set on each employee correctly. So it could be the case that you will notice the accounting or finance team employee salary and wages is posting to warehouse. It will be because the posting class on the employee details is being set to the warehouse posting class rather than to account or admin posting class. So you should regularly reconcile the balances of the payroll with what's been posted to the GL. Um, Make it a habit of doing this monthly, because this will ensure that all the pays have posted to the correct accounts. There are few reports that you can run to make sure that the GL balances is reconciling with your payroll subledger. So everybody will have access to pay activity summary, pay activity detail, and pay activity detail pivot report. Some of you will have customized reports as well that will go down to the sub account level. The second step in reconciling the payroll is make sure your leave entitlements and provisions are correct. So we need to make sure that all your entitlement balances at the end are correct and they all are accruing to the provision accounts if you have set up the provision accounts. So entitlement needs to be checked that the accruals are occurring as expected for the employees, and also that terminated staff have zero final closing balances. Provisions. So if you are new with advanced payroll and this is the first time you are reconciling your provisions, you make sure that you adjust your date backs before the implementation date, because that will also include the opening balance that we have imported. At the end of the financial year, we also recommend you the reconciliation back to the start of the year. You can use the entitlement valuation report to compare with your provisions account. And if you find that there are any variance, it could be due to primarily three reasons. So the first one is you are not posting the provision to the GL account. So that means that in the posting class, you have missed out on the provision GL account for your accrual pay item. Or there could be direct journals to the provision account. So if you are making direct journals to the provision account, it will fix your GL balance, but it will show a discrepancy in the payroll subledger. And a lot of times the discrepancy also happens if this auto adjust provision entitled amount is not ticked on the entitlement. So what this auto adjust provision entitlement amount do is if there is a pay increase or decrease, it will automatically post a journal to the appropriate provision amount for the difference of the balance. So maybe there are instances where there is a difference in your entitlement balances and the actual GL. So it could be due to a combination of adjusting or clearing leave balances. There is a difference between the journals because the leave expense hasn't been transferred from the provision account. Or you missed out on zeroing the balance when an employee was terminated. So in all of these events, what you can do is you can create an entitlement adjustment for the difference of the balance and just process it normally. The last step of the reconciliation is to reconcile your super as well. So most of you will have two superannuation GL accounts set up. One is for your superannuation expense and the other one is for superannuation provision or payable. So in advance, when you create a superannuation batch, it posts everything to your superannuation payable account that's nominated to your clearinghouse or your individual super fund. And once the payment has been made, that superannuation payable account is cleared to zero. And you should also have at least the following pay items set up. So superannuation guarantee, it is a must. It should be linked to your super expense via the GL purpose code. And also the superannuation salary sacrifice that not taxed, and that should be going to your provision account. So the movement of the provision account less the payment made should match the movement of your superannuation transaction inquiry for the same period. So you can run your superannuation transaction report, your GL account summary, and GL history reports to make sure that the superannuation balance for the same period is matching the GL account balances. So the last step is the STP finalization process. So after you have run all your reconciliation checks and process the Fringe benefit pay run, you will go into and you have processed the last pay event that's sent to the ATO. you will run the finalization event. So in the payroll section, there is a STP finalization process. You will open the menu, select the appropriate financial year. So that will be 2024. If you need to send multiple finalization and separating by branch or pay group, then you will need to select the branch or pay group. If you just need to send one finalization event, just leave these branch, pay group, or employee ID blank. And please make sure that you have ticked include inactive employee checkbox. That will make sure that all the terminated employees are included in the finalization event as well. So once you have entered the finalized financial year, you will notice that some of the employees will have that finalized checkbox ticked, and there is an end date as well. And it's because their finalization has been submitted at the time they were terminated. So it's a good practice to submit the finalization again at the time when you are submitting the finalization for the whole organization. So two important notes. So configuration that we have discussed relating to compliance is presented only as an example. If you have any queries, please contact our support team and we will guide you through the end of financial process and creation of any new pay items or fixing the discrepancy in the payroll. Also, you can access these resources. So MYOB has released a financial year guideline. You can follow this link to go through the online resources. There is an EXO resource as well. And you can also, there are lots of articles on how to terminate employees, how to process end of financial year, how to create a fringe benefit pay run on the Education Center. If you want to get any additional information, please feel free to follow these links and it will guide you through the entire process. Okay, so do you have any questions?
Hi, Tarek. Just a quick question. So on slide 20, there was a report that you mentioned, the entitlement valuation report.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have access to that unless Momentum share it with us.
Okay, so if you don't have access to that report, just send a support request to our support team and we will investigate whether it's a report not just displaying on your user interface, or we may need to upload if it's not on your system.
Sure.
Hello.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Tariq. What's the process for returned salary packaging funds? There is no code, and is it reportable FBT?
So what's returned salaried funds?
Monies have been returned to employees that are no longer employed here, but they've must have had money left in their funds on their card or something for salary packaging.
Okay, so have they been terminated?
Yes.
Okay, so if they have been terminated, you will need to make them active again.
Yep.
And you need to use one of those pay items because it's either exempt and you there?
Yes.
Yeah,
You faded out on me.
Yeah. So either it's reportable and exempt, or non-reportable or non-exempt. So you need to find out the appropriate category for that item and use the appropriate pay item. But first thing is you will need to make the employee active,
To be able to
process that.
pay.
Yes. And
It
then,
sorry, can we use the one-off
what do you
instead
mean
of
one
making
off?
them? In MYOB Advanced, there's a choice. You can make them active, inactive, or one-off, or terminate.
Yes. Yes. So you can use that.
Lovely. Okay, so we need to determine whether it's reportable or not.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Tarek, there's some questions in the chat.
Yes, I'm looking at the chat. So pay item categories matching to the ATO. So if it was done last year, you may need to do it again, but make sure to check it for the new pay items that you have added during the financial year. Submitting the TFN declaration now happens automatically. You don't need to do anything. So when you submit the pay, the TFN declaration gets submitted automatically to the ATO. So again, if you are unsure of anything, please contact our support team and we will guide you through the process and make sure that you have processed the Fringe benefits pay run with the correct dates and reconcile the payroll before the finalization event is sent to the ATO. Although you can send multiple finalization events, but if you haven't reconciled and send the finalization event, sometime it gets really difficult to then reconcile your payroll. To check how you are on STP2, Belinda, you will need to go into your payroll preferences, and then there is a section for STP2. If all the checkbox are ticked, that means you are on STP2, and at the bottom it will show the date as well when you went live with STP2. One more thing that I want to show you is that I missed, sorry. Make sure that you check your company data. So company data, check company data is available under single touch payroll and check company data and run validation. So this is a test and demo system. So I'm expecting that there will be a lot of errors, but most of you won't get any error. But if there are any errors, you will need to resolve it before you proceed to the finalization event. It's loading the list of errors. So you see, it's telling all the errors and it shows the link as well. So you just need to click on the link and amend the and make sure whatever error is reporting. So obviously you can't have a blank ABN and postcode and state also can't be null. So yeah, Peter, you can run your July pay run. You have till 12th of July to submit your STP finalization. Okay, so I'm wrapping up this session. You will receive a copy of this webinar. And if you have any more questions, just contact our support team. Thank you.